So you want to be an air traffic controller. On the surface, the job is the ultimate display of competence. You sit in a glass tower, a god of the clouds, orchestrating a complex, invisible ballet of metal and jet fuel. It looks like the most important job in the world, and in many ways, it is. But peel back the veneer, and you realize you aren't just directing planes. You are playing a high-stakes game of four-dimensional chess, where the only acceptable outcome is zero error, every single day, for 30 years. The hook is the money. It is the bait that pulls thousands of applicants into the Federal Aviation Administration pipeline every year. A trainee starts with a modest salary, but once certified, the numbers climb fast. At a major hub, a controller can pull in anywhere from $120,000 to $180,000 a year, with top-tier positions at the busiest facilities topping $200,000. It is one of the few professions where a high school diploma or a specific kind of aptitude test, rather than an expensive degree, can secure a six-figure lifestyle. But that money isn't a salary. It is a hazard pay stipend for the life you're about to give up. Before you ever touch a frequency, you have to survive the medical and psychological gauntlet. The FAA mandates a strict physical exam that excludes anyone with certain neurological conditions, vision problems, or even a history of specific medications. If you have a disqualifying condition, you are out before you start. The psychological profile is just as narrow. They are looking for a specific type of detached, rapid-fire decision maker. Then comes the FAA Academy in Oklahoma City. This is where the glamour evaporates. The washout rate here is brutal, often hovering between 20 and 30%. You are dropped into a room with simulators, staring at screens that move faster than your brain wants to process. It is a sensory overload designed to break your rhythm. If you cannot track 12 moving targets while talking on 2 radios and updating flight strips simultaneously, you fail. There is no second chance. You pack your bags, and your aviation career ends before it begins. Once you make it through, the real fatigue starts. This is a 24-hour industry. You aren't working 9 to 5. You are working the mid, the swing, and the graveyard shift. Your circadian rhythm becomes a secondary concern to the flow of traffic. Controllers often switch between morning, afternoon, and night shifts in a single week. It is a biological wrecking ball. You live in a constant state of mild jet lag, sleeping in darkened rooms while the rest of the world goes to work, never fully catching up on the recovery your body desperately needs. Then there is the facility reality. You might imagine yourself in a sleek tower at a massive hub like Chicago O'Hare or Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson, but you will likely spend your early years at a low-level regional tower or a radar approach control facility. These are the unsung, often understaffed nodes in the network. The equipment can be dated, the budget is thin, and the stress is just as high, but without the prestige. You are working just as hard to separate light aircraft as the big city controllers are to manage the heavy international jets. The math of this career is unforgiving. There is a mandatory retirement age of 56. The FAA knows that after a certain point, the cognitive decline, however slight, is a liability that cannot be managed. You're expected to hold total, unwavering focus for your entire 8-hour shift. If your concentration wavers for 10 seconds, you have failed the job. This isn't a desk job where you can browse the news. It is a job where you must be the most alert person in the room every single second you are on duty. Perfection is not the goal. It is the baseline. In any other field, a mistake is a lesson learned. In air traffic control, a mistake is an investigation, a career suspension, or worse, a national headline. The system is built with fail-safes and redundancy, but the human link is the most fragile part of the chain. One lapse in spatial awareness or a slight miscommunication of a heading, and the safety buffer you are responsible for evaporates. The weight of that potential is carried on your shoulders every time you plug in your headset. Right now, the industry is in a staffing crisis. The FAA has struggled to hit hiring targets for years, leaving the existing workforce chronically overworked. Mandatory overtime is the norm at many facilities, meaning controllers are often doing 6-day weeks to keep the system operational. When you are chronically fatigued, your ability to handle stress drops. It is a dangerous loop where the shortage creates more stress, which leads to more retirements and departures, which worsens the shortage. It is a system stretched to the absolute limit. The finances are often deceptive. You might land a job at a high-level radar facility, but these are often in the most expensive cities in the country. If you are posted in New York or San Francisco, your $150,000 goes a lot less far than it would in the Midwest. After taxes, housing costs, and the need to live near an expensive airport, the cushy salary starts to look like a middle-class wage. You are paying for the privilege of working in a high-pressure environment, often while commuting long distances to find affordable housing. So, what kind of person survives this? It isn't the thrill seeker. The adrenaline junkies wash out because they mistake the job for an action movie. The ones who thrive are the stoic, detail-oriented individuals who find comfort in rules and consistency. They are the people who can compartmentalize. They can have a chaotic morning and walk into a radar room and immediately lock their personal life in a box. It requires a level of mental discipline that is rare, a personality that views routine as a sanctuary rather than a cage. Is the lifestyle worth the mental fatigue? That depends on what you value. If you want a career that provides a clear trajectory, a government pension, and a sense of absolute purpose, it is hard to beat. But you are trading your long-term health and your biological schedule for that security. You will age faster than your peers. You will miss birthdays and holidays. And when you walk away at 56, you might find that the silence of retirement is harder to adjust to than the noise of the radar room ever was. It is a career that consumes its practitioners. And for many, that is the only life they ever wanted.